Okay guys, welcome back to the second half. If you did not see the first half, it's because it was live, and I will have it up here somewhere for you guys to go and enjoy the live mess that it was of getting this where it is now. Now off camera, I did do one change, and I brought in, it was off camera, I apologize, because I was just playing around and I put it in, and it goes in really snug thanks to the rubber grommet-like things that are on this. The other one just falls around. This is a Noctua fan, and if you guys don't remember the Dreamcast series, it's the exact same fan that the Dreamcast uses in that mod. So this is second time ordering this fan, and boom, it's the fan that fits. The original fan right now, until I figure out what I'm going to do with it, is back in the box with the Noctua stuff. I thought about maybe mounting it somewhere as a extra airflow, but we're gonna get there. I'm just going to use this as the one upgrade that I'm doing during this air build. And keep in mind, after this air build, there'll be another series going out where I have 3D printed a bunch of things. I'm not going to talk about them too much, and this will have a water cooling system from a Commodore case, but in a really new way. Okay, so I just want to go over a couple things here. Right off the bat, the 300 watt power supply, as beautiful as it is, it's not going to cut it. And it's not that it's not big enough, it's not strong enough. Oh, it's more than big enough, and it's more than strong enough. The problem is, this guy, to be done nicely, I would have had to put it here just to keep things clean. And there is a problem with that. The standard cables don't reach over here. Now, I did actually order extension cables in my nice red braided cloth whatever, like I did in my Project Game Over, but it added a pile of problems with the cabling. And I mean a pile. Those braided cables are strong. They're not meant to be just kind of torn down and strapped in. I could have, but it just didn't feel right. So, we're going to scratch this 300 watt Pico power supply, and we're going to use this 300 watt Pico supply. And that's right, this is a complete ATX. They call it a mining power supply, but it's a 300 watt power supply. And it is able to keep things a little neater and hopefully be able to put the shell on without any real big headaches. So, what this is, it's literally a power supply on a 24 pin. The 24 pin is going to plug in like so. And we're going to have a 300 watt power supply right here. I don't know if this is too high or not. I may not have solved my issue at all. I may have made it worse. So, let's just pretend that this is all wired in. Woohoo! Nice and neat like. Not. Let's take this and see if we can actually get it on there. And if not, we have to be very, very, very picky on what we pick for a power supply, which we already kind of knew, but I didn't think it would be this bad. And right off the bat, I think we have a problem. And yes, we do. So, new problem arises after we get rid of one. Now, trying to think if I have the solution for this or not. I could extend this little piece. I don't like to. So now we have two power supplies that are giving me grief. You need one hell of a low power supply to go on here, or this somewhere else. And that may be the answer. It could be that the board, which I think most ITX boards are laid out this way. I'm at a problem here, and it's a huge one. How do I make the power supply work? If I go with a L bracket, which I do have, even lights up Gigabyte, it's going to go this way and it's still going to be no good. Even if it went this way, it's no good. So that's two brand new power supplies not going to work. On the ASRock board, this connector is right here, so it's not giving me anything better. This is the ITX layout. Alright, so now we have another problem. I'm just going to have to put the project aside until I can figure out how I'm going to do this. I mean, like I said, I could put a cable on here and extend it, but at this point, does not look like that's how it's going to go. So I might be getting a little ahead of myself trying to do a 300 watt power supply. And I'm thinking maybe the other ones are much shorter. If this was around this height here, we would not have a problem. I'm going to have to go and see which one John over at CTS ordered, and that may have to be my solution, which is only 150 watt, but he has no issues, so it is an option worth looking into. Okay guys, welcome back again, because the other part was a video that I crammed down. There was so many different things that went wrong in that video, and I just want to give an update to that. So instead of going on and on about that video, I'm adding this to it so that you can see what actually happened here. Now it is a mess, not going to deny that right now. So here is the 300 watt power supply I said I couldn't use. Now I took some double-sided 3M tape and stuck it down, and it is actually solid. Now, I mentioned that I bought other extensions, and I did. I bought, let me just unplug this. I bought braided ones. The problem with braided ones were that they wouldn't bend enough here, so you could not get the keyboard back on. You'll also notice right now that I'm only using generic RAM. It's 32 gigs. It's 16 gig DIMMs, but you need your RAM to be lower than the cooler, which is 90 millimeter or something like that for height. So anything higher than this cooler, the keyboard's not going on. So to put ARGB RAM in here, stupid. No one's going to see it. To put even metal shielded RAM in here, you're going to get the height to the point where it's just unusable. Now, I do have a few other issues I'll get into. There's something else I found out about this board that I'm not happy about. I did mention that we did change this to a Noctua fan, and I gotta say, the cover isn't even on, and I can feel the air just coming out of this little fan. Much better upgrade over the factory fan. Not that the factory fan's not going to pull that air for you. If you don't want to spend any money, go ahead. But this made it fully tight. It literally was like they were made to be together. The grill and the fan, because of the rubber grommets, are solid. Couple things right here. These are very important for this whole project. This is your 4-pin CPU pin cable. Now, it came with another braided one. I don't know if I still have it here. I probably put it away because it was annoying. And what it was is one that plugs in right here, but it cannot reach over here. And even if it did, it's the same connector as this one, which means this one or the other one, neither one of them are plugging in at the same time. You need an 8-pin. So I went and got a 4-pack of these. Your 4-pin to an 8-pin. Now, some people will go, well, it's going to run on the 4-pin. Yep, it probably will, but there are reasons why it needs the 8-pin for Ryzen 5000. So the 8-pin is there. Give it 8-pin of power. It's just that simple. I paid $10, I think, for all 4 of these. So now I have extras for whenever I'm doing any other ITX builds, because so far every Pico power supply that I have used or tried to use, 4-pin. One issue. Fixed. So I can just tuck it down in here, blah, blah, blah. It's put away. Done. Again, this is not a fashion statement. I will clean this up a bit, because in the grand scheme of all of this, this goes on top. You're not going to see anything. Am I going to play around with RGB? We're just going to leave it at Okay, next, another big problem when using an ITX board, and that is headers. You don't get a lot. Now, They do give me extra mini to normal fan headers on the Gigabyte Aurora line, but there's only one USB 2.0 here. There is a USB 3, absolutely, and that's your regular RGB, and that's an ARGB, so that's not a USB. So here's the issue with this. When you have the card reader installed, well, that is a USB cable. And that USB cable is right here unplugged right now, so I'm not using it. So I'm going to take a look and see if I can find an adapter for that, or I plug in half of it like so. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that right now. Maybe. Plug in half of it and have half the card reader or whatever working. Again, this is not a good option. I'd like to get maybe a splitting header, no different than whether you had an HDMI or a USB splitter. Now, that's minor. This is USB 2.0 anyway. I probably wouldn't want to use this one, as I would like to replace it with a 3. Maybe I'll take apart a 3, fit it in here, and somehow route the wiring. I don't really want to do that, but I'll try and figure this part out later, and maybe I can get one that just plugs in right there, because there's no other USB 3 on the case. So that probably is what I'm going to try to do. Go from this to this. And then I don't have to worry about that. Actually, I may have an adapter to go USB 2 to the USB 3, which will still be USB 2, but still. Anyway, I digress. Okay, so these are your power and your LED. No big deal. They just go to your board like normal. Yes, I have to clean them up. And the problem here with this is now solved by just buying the basic looking one. The basic looking one folds down beautifully. Solves the issue of height. Now I should be able to put this on top. Now, this is actually hooked up, as you can see, because it's got long wire. You can actually do that, which is really nice, because you can pull it away and do what you want with it. That's actually a very nice little feature, having this extra wire. Okay, now, when it comes down to the Pico power supply, I mean, it gives you a few little features, but chances are you're just going to use an NVMe, probably here or on this board underneath. Another little problem is when you buy a Pico power supply, you do not get a power supply. You get the power supply needed to adapt and adjust the power coming out of here, which means 5 volt and 12 volt, but you need a 12 volt power supply. Now, I did a lot of hunting, and this is a 10 amp 12 volt. This power supply technically should be a 20 amp 12 volt. Now, I'm not going to lie, I've been running this for a little while. I even installed Windows on it, but that's another video. But what I want to get at is this did not get hot. This did not give me any trouble. In fact, the power thing just fell out of it. And a bunch of people were talking about a little thing that was concerning, and it did catch my attention, and that was this connector here. Okay? Now, they say this is not rated for the pull that's going to happen here, and this could melt. Well, I did want to check that too, and I didn't get any issues or thermos on there, so I'm not too concerned about that, as I will monitor it later, because I do still have to drill a hole and put out the jack. Get myself a FLIR for the channel. So finally, I have one. And what we're going to do there, I'll do a video on this in the near future, because I think this is a video on its own, just for fun. I mean, look at that, right? And with that, I can test this theory and make sure that this is not a danger, okay? So I will monitor this jack piece here with the FLIR and make sure that the thermals are okay and that it's not pulling too much out of here. Also, with these cheap power supplies, now this is something I wanted to talk about big time. These scare me. These overseas, they don't weigh very much. I'm hoping the components inside are solid enough to brag or boast what this power supply can do. Now, this one was only $25. Okay? $25 got me a 10 amp. Now, I shopped and shopped and shopped. 20 amps are almost $75 to $80 and up. I am not paying $100 for a power supply like this. that's going to come to me and say it's 20 amp and feel like this. Not happening. But again, so far, nothing has pushed or taxied this to cause heat here. And we can try the thermal thing on that when we're going to do all the testing. And on this, because I didn't feel this even get warm. Now, that could be because it doesn't really have much in there to get warm and I wouldn't feel it. I'm hoping that is not true. But so far, let's just say I probably would not leave it plugged in until I am very okay with it running it for quite a while. So that is important. Now, in this video, I just wanted to go over all that. I just wanted to make sure that people understand. I can put links down for all these little bits that I had to get because you're going to need them if you want to build yourself a Commodore PC. I mean, who doesn't want a nice retro looking PC? The keys are beautiful, by the way. Just want to let you know. They work really well and they're very responsive and they're very enjoyable. So, in the next video, this will be clean. And we should have everything done. As I said, Windows is already, I'm ahead of myself a little here. Windows is on here. As you can see when I do this. Also put a link to this power supply as well because it's the right tip. It's the right voltage. And it's enough amperage from what I've seen so far. So, with a touch of this button. Now, so there's two wires from this other than the keyboard USB. And that is the light and the power switch. Here is your power switch. There is your light. Off it goes into AMD heaven. Everything's moving nice there. Again, until I put it all back together, we're not going to know what the thermals are like. I'm going to do a test open like this. And then I'm going to do a test closed. See what the difference is. For all we know, we might be surprised. I don't know, but I do expect thermals to climb. Sealed up as this is, you know, what it is. I did take this piece out. You guys can see that. One, I'm not going to use the USB drive or a CD-ROM drive in here at all. So at this point, what was the point? I'd rather have the power supply as far away from this as possible. Not because of a fire hazard, but because air, right? So now when I tie this down or clean this up, I'm going to have more airflow going through the case. And that was where I was headed. So chances are, if you're like me, you're going to probably remove that bay anyway. It was only for a solid state or an optical drive. You could do both actually, but it was a 2.5. Today, if you're building a new machine, you're going to go completely NVMe. Who needs hard drives when you can put at least 2 in a system like this? And you can put a 2 terabyte if you wanted to. Just if you needed that extra space. I am not making this my gaming computer, although I did buy a cable to possibly turn a video card sideways. Yeah, it's been on my mind, but I don't think there's enough room here to really get away with that. But I will say, coming up in some videos, we're going to water cool this bad boy. Anyway, guys, I'm just going on and on and on now because I'm kind of excited because I finally got all the parts to finally put it together after everything that went wrong. We now have a booting PC and it's running.